Summertime Blues by The Who, and I had to be honest, I knew it was an Eddie Cochran song, and I never knew that The Who had also recorded it, and Daryl, who chose it, knew The Who had recorded it and didn't know it was an Eddie Cochran song, so there you go.
There you go.
Andrew, any reason you like that song? Just another one of your It's Summer.
Well, it is summer, and when you have a nice pretty day, it's the kind of song that you know reminds you you'd really rather be doing something else sometimes, out enjoying the sun.
Absolutely, instead of sitting in a really boring studio. Never mind, such is the way of things. Here we are. Nigel, are you a red, blue, yellow or green personality type?
You want me to answer that?
Not at first. At first, I want you to tell us why we're talking about that, and then if you want to, you can tell me whether you're red, blue, green or yellow.
Some of the people who like to analyse people in this kind of thing have decided that our personalities can be divided up into these 4 colour types. So, for example, if you're a red person, you tend to be quite strong and pragmatic, and many red personality people are strong leaders, business leaders, for example. Okay. If you're a blue person, they tend to be more analytical or scientific. Yellow people are person people who like to build up relationships, so relationships are important to them. And green, they are, I suppose, relaxed, laid-back people. They like informality and often come across as being emotional in business and in other situations. So the interesting thing for me when I read that was, when we're in business situations, can we kind of tie in to what kind of personality type we're dealing with, and can we use that to good effect, for example, when we're selling, when we're marketing, whatever we're trying to do?
Okay. Now, Mike Duckett and I have done lots of things about how to sell better and how to negotiate better, and things about having your mobile phone away and keeping your briefcase out of sight and giving somebody a warm drink. So do we also have to work out what colour they are, or not what colour they are, but which of these 4 personality traits they follow? That's going to help. Have you actually tried? Does it work?
Well, Rosie and I at Amodeo, we are different personality types. She is clearly what I would say a yellow, a people person, a relationship builder. I am much more blue, so I'm much more, I suppose, analytical. I'm looking at requirements that need to be met. She's looking to build up the relationships. We had a business meeting last week where Rosie tried to build up the relationship, but the man we were meeting with was clearly somebody who was analytical. So he started to naturally focus more of his attention on me, I suppose, because I reflected his kind of personality. So I think if you can identify someone in your organisation who can hook up with the right personality type, or if you can change your approach slightly to hook into a personality type, then maybe that can be a good thing.
So there's a bit of a sort of a match pace lead type thing, if you and mirroring and all those kinds of things, where you're looking at their personality and really giving them what they want, talking to them and not giving them what, talking to them in a way that they will latch onto and empathise with.
Serving it up in the style that they would appreciate and hook onto.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can relate well to that, Nigel, in the terms of the work I do in development. We call it style flexibility. That you need to be able to sort of flex yourself into a different way, so you can kind of work in their way. So I at one level, I like these kinds of models because it helps make people more sensitive to just think about who's on the other side of the table, how they might want you to work with them or not. The downside for me in that, though, is that it's rather broad brush, and most of these sorts of instruments, and I do a lot of work with psychometrics, what I would call proper psychometrics. These divide you up and kind of describe you, but they give you no qualitative. It says, oh, this guy's a red, he's a leader type. He may be a very bad leader because it doesn't give you any insight as to whether they're good at it or not. It just says he's going to do a lot of that.
Yeah. And I guess, the quality thing is in there, but recognising, your yellow and blue example is very good, and the difference between them is quite stark. It's the life and soul of the party is the yellow, and the deep analytical thinker is the blue. And somebody who's a deep analytical thinker as a customer is going to get on much better with another deep analytical thinker. They're not going to want to be frivolous and jokey and stuff. They're going to want to get down to the nitty gritty of why is this web responsive site going to be best for me and what's my return on the investment going to be. And I can see how
It may also depend upon the type of product or service that you're involved in with your business. If you're working in a business where service is important, the relationship building aspect of your business probably is something you need to give a lot of care and attention to. Whereas if it's just a product that you're knocking out, you can be much more pragmatic. Price might be the deciding factor, and you provide the information and away you go.
Well, the warning in this I'd want to put out to all of our listeners is that we aren't just one type or another. We all have elements, or the ability certainly to reflect some of the other characteristics, and we can do that. And even in a given situation, somebody who normally likes being around people and very relationship oriented can focus themselves on just the nitty gritty and let's just stay through for a while because maybe it just needs to be done. So don't, the danger is don't put yourself in a box, or don't put somebody else in a box and think that they can't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because they can.
I think, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's very valid. And I think that where things like this work very well is if you always add a sort of a suffix to it, which is right now. So they're behaving like a yellow right now. Not they are a yellow. It's they're behaving like a yellow right now. And you can be in a business meeting where somebody's being very frivolous and jokey and chit-chat and talk about the football and whatever. And there comes a point and they say, so let's talk about this contract. And they've suddenly switched to being a blue.
Yeah, and I think we did some work some time back with people that were doing direct selling, and they always just say you don't know what's happened just that moment before or that morning, and somebody who might normally be actually quite happy to talk to you won't want to talk to you because something's happened and that you don't know what's going on there.
Absolutely, and I'm guessing as well with an organisation like yours where you're coming out. The product you're selling, if you don't mind me calling it a product of a video for somebody, they probably have some kind of image in their mind of what the finished product is going to be like. And for you to suck that out of them is really quite hard. And if you get it wrong, no, that's not what we wanted at all.
That's the hardest
nightmare.
part,
absolutely.
Actually.
So I would guess that getting in tune with the right personality trait is going to help you to get the rapport going with them, get them talking more about their ideas and their thoughts and what they want as a finished product. So
yeah, and I think, well, from our point of view, quite often getting that out of people is the most difficult bit to do. It's the bit we probably spend most of our time doing, that and planning. But it's also sometimes helping them to understand what it is that they want out of something too. So we did something last year where a chap who does exercise is an exercise coach, and he thought the most important part of what he was going to promote on his web shop was the equipment that he was using. In actual fact, it was him that was the most important part, but he couldn't see it.
Yes. And I suppose the more effectively you can communicate with somebody perhaps using this kind of red, blue, green, yellow tool, the better you're able to give them what they actually want. So it helps you to get a more satisfied customer.
And the other thing to bear in mind is that what we also know is that if you can get a range of people blend, you often end up with a better result because different people cover different things. So, don't box yourself in too much.
No, absolutely. I'm trying to think of a way of linking boxing yourself into Louis Armstrong, and I just the Joe Louis was a boxer. No, let's not go there. Louis Armstrong.
Yes.
We have all the time in the world. We haven't. We've only got a quarter of an hour left of the program.
Did he do a cover version of "Don't Fence Me In"?
I don't think so. No, I can't remember which advert. This we've got big again recently. There was an advert on television, I'm sure, which had this as the theme. Why did you pick this one, Nigel?
It's a great love song. It's a James Bond song, and it's just beautiful. And I think there's a touch of irony that Louis Armstrong is singing that he's got all the time in the world, when actually he didn't have very long left. This was one of his last recordings. So it's moving on many different levels.
Absolutely.
I think Nigel's a bit green on us. He's getting green on us.
Yeah. And bringing us to tears for the second time today. But let's see how Louis Armstrong affects you. Isn't that lovely? We love it. Louis Armstrong. Okay, in 2 weeks' time, our guests on the show will be a gentleman by the name of Leo Sykes, who we've had on the show before. He's now with Lloyd's TSB, and he's going to be talking, looking from a financial perspective at things. He's a bit of an expert on insolvency and recovery. But we'll also be having Sharon Cook, who's with 4C, which is the organisation who help businesses to do good things with charities. So if you're around in a fortnight, we'll love to have you as a listener for that as well. But the reason I mention that now is because, Darryl, you've got some stuff about businesses that do good things.
Yeah, it's something I picked up off the BBC News Business website, looking at small firms which want to run profitable, what we would call traditional kind of capitalist businesses, but to do so in a way that was very altruistic. They were doing something good for the world and creating a wonderful workspace for their employees to feel good about being part of. So they've highlighted a couple of businesses that have gone off. One, for example, was trying to develop a medical device to be deployed in Africa to help with HIV treatment and monitoring changes in HIV patterns in people so they could get the right drugs more quickly. But they wanted to build a business that made money, but at the same time was doing good, and they saw that as an integral part of what they're doing.
Yeah. So is it that they're trying to make money and be good at the same time, or prioritizing one over the other?
I think they saw them as inseparable. They're saying we want to be doing something in a world where our employees feel good about what they're doing because it's really making a difference. One of them was quite something is that we don't want our people to feel like they have to make a choice between feeding their families or helping people in the world.
Interesting. Which most people do really. I mean, I used to sell office stationery for a living, and I made a living, but I really can't say I was helping the world. Yeah, so I get that. Most charities, I think, struggle with the concept that they have to pay their staff and they have to pay them a reasonable rate. And if you look at big charities, the Oxfams of this world, Chief Executive Oxfam, I don't know what they earn, but it's, if it's not seven figures, it's high six figures. I mean, it's serious chunks of money that they earn. They're proper chief execs of massive organisations. If you look at smaller charities, charities with 10, 15, 20 employees, I know somebody who used to work for a charity, and she hated pay review time because she had a mortgage and she had kids and she needed money and felt that she was underpaid and should get more, and knew with extreme clarity that every single pound that she got was a pound that wasn't going to the good cause for which it had been raised. She was an overhead, and it's a very challenging situation. But I think the idea of businesses actually, the point of the business is to do good things, is quite good, which we may have already mentioned the answer. It might be Starbucks, I'm not sure. Which coffee chain is it that's doing something called suspended coffees? You heard of that?
I've heard of that, no.
I will apologise on air to the brand that it is if it's not Starbucks, but I think it's Starbucks, where you can go and you can buy a coffee and also buy what they call a suspended coffee. And that's a coffee that you buy and you pay for and you don't have. Somebody who can't buy themselves a coffee because they're not wealthy enough for that can come in and say, can I have a suspended coffee please? And on the assumption there's one sort of, I'm waving my little fingers in quote marks, in the bank, then they get a free coffee because it's already been paid for by somebody else. And I know that employees of that coffee chain feel real good about it. They're really not doing much. They're giving a down and out of coffee, it doesn't change their lives. But actually, it's really nice that they get to sit somewhere warm and have a coffee and be with other people. Well,
what's interesting, one of the other companies they featured in the article was a company that started out trying to make luminous lights that could be used in emergencies. So that where there's a disaster and the power was down. And they found at times that was kind of hard going. So they ended up also finding that there was a huge market for it in the U.S. for outdoorsmen and hunters to use them. So they started a program somewhat like what you're describing with suspended coffee. Said, you can buy one of these, but if you pay $8 more, we'll fund that to go to a disaster relief program.
Mm-hmm.
And so they
Okay.
ran their business that way.
Okay. Interesting. Well, I'm sure. Who was it? Had "Don't be evil" as their motto? Was it Google? Yeah.
Yes, the other one we were talking about earlier.
I'm not going to be judgmental about whether or not Google are evil, but I'm sure most of us would like to do some nice stuff if we can, and I'm sure this will crop up again in a fortnight when we chat with Sharon. I don't know how it's happened, but the time has flown by and it's time to go. I need to say to Mike, if you're listening, Mike, I hope you're doing something nice and look forward to having you back in a fortnight. But in your stead, Darryl done a stand-up job. Thank you very much, even though you were sitting down. Did you have fun?
Yes, I did.
Good, delighted. I'll be very happy to have you back.
Can we keep Mike away for a while longer?
You'll have to talk to him about that. That's not up to me. Karen, thank you very much for your third, fourth, whatever it was, visit. Just suppose somebody wants a video done for their website or internal communications audit. How do they find you? How do they?
It's best to go onto the internet, Google or your search engine, and put in Take One TV, and generally speaking, we'll come up there on that page, usually at the top or very close to the top.
Okay, Take One TV, and that's 3 separate words. Lovely. And Nigel, so I said you hadn't messed anything up yet. I said that nearly an hour and a half ago, and I'm delighted I can still say it. I had no doubt, otherwise, we would have done something else. Did you have fun?
It was fun, thank you.
Good, it's supposed to be fun. And for people who want a new website or similar stuff done, whether it's a responsive one or a good old-fashioned one, how do they find you?
At www.amodeo, AMODEO, webdesign.co.uk.
You mean you've got a website?
Absolutely.
What a clever company you are.
Is it responsive?
Don't ask.
I bet it will be soon. Pay that extra 300 quid. It's worth it. It's worth it. I'm going to finish off before the last piece of music just by telling you 3 pieces of good news. The first piece of good news is that this very evening, starting at 5:30 in 2 whole hours, is the fair at Higginson Park. So if you're in the mood for some fun or just hanging out, watching other people having fun and thinking, how can they go on that stupid ride, then, because some of those things scare me to death, I must be getting old, then it's tonight. And the second piece of good news is it's tonight and Saturday night, and I'm pretty sure it may be Sunday, but I'm not sure. But tonight is cheap ride night, so most, but not all, most of the rides are just £1.50. What a bargain. But the real good news is, look out your window, it's a sunny day, and I have a written guarantee it's going to stay sunny and lovely. 12 months ago it absolutely poured, and the fair was a real, to call it a washout would be precisely correct. But today that's not the case, so you can make up for what you missed last year. We are now going to have our last piece of music for the day, and I started the programme by playing something for Karen, so it would be rude to not play something for Nigel. Here's a little song by XTC, and I'll see all you lovely listeners in a fortnight.